بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين بالقاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. So we congratulate everybody for the birthday of Zainab al-Kubra alayha salam. However, we have started few sessions inshallah regarding Imam Mehdi alayhi salam, because the topic is quite vast and there's a lot to talk about. So inshallah we try to leave this topic for sort of regular lecture, and maybe we'll finish it with 15th of Sha'ban. But we may have in the middle, we may have occasions that we have to change that particular week to something else, or even we may have other lecturers. But this topic is very important. I advise everybody to pay attention, please. Inshallah, we'll record this, isn't it? Are we recording it, inshallah? We do have a lot of misconception about Imam Mehdi alayhi salam, which is unfortunate, and at the same time there are issues that we do not learn without discussion. Is not something that somebody can say and go and say that's it, okay, I didn't know it was that and that's it. So we really need to discuss this, open it, see the misconceptions that might be in people's mind and try to extract them, and inshallah if we can answer them and fix them. The first topic that inshallah in this line I'm going to start tonight is the topic of al-iman bil-ghayb, the belief in something called ghayb. As an introduction, I would like to ask this question, and inshallah if our brothers and sisters have, unfortunately sisters don't have access, we should maybe do something about this. If they have any particular comment to make. My question for the introduction is this: the ghaiba of Imam Mehdi alayhi salam, is that an exception in the traditions of Allah, or is it the usual tradition of Allah? The reason I'm asking this question, to open it a bit more, is this: that for example somebody may come and say to you, especially as a Shia, and saying that, because this is a type of what we call fallacy, a type of mughalata, that people come to you and they say, for example, if somebody comes to you and wants to say that drinking alcohol is good, they may come to you and they say that everybody knows that drinking alcohol is good for you. Why did you make it haram in your religion? While everybody, in fact, the evidence, the medicine, the studies is actually opposite that. In fact, he should say that everybody knows that it's bad for you. But to make his point, he comes and says it like that. That everybody knows this is good for you. Because he can play with saying, oh, there is some study in a small amount in some people and might have some benefits and all that. And he's actually changing the whole story. About our belief is the same thing. For example, about the story of Imam Mehdi alayhi salam's ghaiba, in the fact that Imam alayhi salam By the way, is it ghaiba or ghiba? Which one is correct? Ghaiba, that's right. Ghiba usually means backbiting, yeah? Even though it's the same root, but... So the ghaiba of Imam alayhi salam is something that Shia believes and non-Shia don't believe. When we say non-Shia, we're talking about non-Shia Muslim, non-Shia, non-Muslim. Basically everybody. They may believe in that. However, you may say that in the biblical belief, they actually believe that there is an imam or a person or a prophet, somebody, a Messiah in Judaism. They actually believe that there is a Messiah that will come. And they believe that he's alive. Yes? And the belief they have about that Messiah is quite funny. There's some funny thing that he's sitting on some gate of Roman gate somewhere, and he's sitting there and he is taking these little threads, waiting for the time to come. And some other nonsense. But that's a different matter. We're talking about the general idea here that in Muslim non-Shia, we don't believe that Imam Mehdi alayhi salam is necessarily in ghaiba. Some of them may believe in Ahl Sunnah that he has been born, but he has not become Imam or has not announced his message. Like for example, they say Musa alayhi salam, who was born, was amongst people until a day that he started his mission. Either way, it's very important not to get into this fallacy that people may come to you and the first thing they say is this: everybody knows that this is nonsense what you believe. How could an imam be in ghaiba, and what's the point of it? And making lots of questions there. What's the point of it? This is nonsense. This doesn't make sense. This is this and that. Okay. Now, our first question for the introduction of this topic is this: if the ghaiba of Imam alayhi salam, and in a general meaning, the belief in ghaib, is this a usual tradition of Allah, or is an exception to the traditions of Allah? Like the opposite of that is that no, in fact, Allah has let people to know about the ghaib, is let them to see that Imam has, always be with them, the hujjah of Allah be with them. He has not hidden any other hujjah. He has not referred to the fact that believing in ghaib is something important. Is this the case or no? In fact, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala does things like this all the time. And the majority of time is this way. Okay, I'm kind of leading you. I don't want to lead you, but you could say no, that's not the case. Do you believe that it has? So is there somebody that believes that this is an exception to the Sunnatullah? Is ghaiba of Imam alayhi salam exception to Sunnatullah, or is a usual thing? You think that it is a usual thing?
Maybe not exactly in the same way as Imam Mehdi, but in other people.
Other cases similar, yeah. Anybody has any other opinion about this, as thinking that no, actually this is an exception? Because to be fair, in certain aspects, it might be an exception. Because that's the only last Imam and last hujjah of Allah that is going to come. And he's the only one who is going to change the world towards the promise of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. that لَيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ, that Islam is going to take the whole world and is going to be dominant religion in the whole world, and the rules of Allah are going to be, when we say Islam, means the real religion of Allah. Not necessarily, as we know, even when Imam alayhi salam comes, even the basic rules that we know might change. Some of the things we might be wrong about it. You know, Imam alayhi salam comes, either he prays like this or prays like that. There's no other way. Or maybe the other way, I don't know, but at the end of the day, it's either this is correct or it's not correct, what we're doing. If Imam alayhi salam does not pray like that, then the Shia and the Malikis win in that one. At the end of the day, things are going to change. So, is there any evidence that Allah Ta'ala has done this on a regular basis? Yes, okay, that's good. So Musa alayhi salam, being Hujjah of Allah Ta'ala, he went to Ghaiba. How long? Apart from 49, another time he was in Ghaiba before Salih. Apart from that, there was another time that he wasn't amongst people. When was that? As a prophet, that's right. But there was a time that he was a prophet. Yes, that's the time that he went and he met Shu'aib alayhi salam. The Nabi Shu'aib alayhi salam asked him to work for him for 8 to 10 years. 8 to 10 years, and then that's when he got married to the daughter of Shu'aib alayhi salam. It was the time that he hit that person who was his supporter and he had to leave. So that period he wasn't amongst people. For years he wasn't amongst people. People couldn't have access to him. Or the 40 days that he went to Mantur. Is there any other prophet who did the same thing? Left the people and they couldn't have access to their Imam, to their prophet, to their Hujjah? Yusuf alayhi salam, of course, even the people. That's different. Very important thing, but they weren't prophets. It's very important. I have a lot to say about. Yeah. As the prophet, Yusuf was prison. Not people have access to else. Away for quite a while, actually praying for the Imam to come back to them. No, as a prophet. No, the prophets in Quran. The story that a prophet leaves his people and they cannot see him or have access to him. And then they start actually doing dua and asking for the prophet to come back. Yunus alayhi salam. Yunus, that's right. Yunus alayhi salam, when he was in the tummy of the whale, people, and that's when they started doing dua. Allah accepted the dua, and that's why Yunus went back to them. Or even the story of Isa alayhi salam. Isa alayhi salam, no matter if you believe as non-Muslim Ahl Kitab or Christian, actually, yes, if Christian believe that he died and came back and then he went, or no, like Muslim, you believe that he did not die and he just went. Either way, after that he left his people, isn't it? So there are occasions that this happened. So in fact, anything in Quran, if you look at the stories that exist in Quran, Allah Ta'ala says everything in Quran is a story will tell you is for a lesson. It's for you to take a lesson. لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. There is a lesson in these stories, which means any story that comes in Quran is not for you just to hear and go on. You have to find the usage of it. What is the point of knowing the story of Yunus alayhi salam if we don't know what is the usage of it? And the same thing with other prophets. And these stories, they are in Quran for a reason. And I tell you something now. Every single story in Quran somehow has a relation to Imam Mehdi alayhi salam. And this story, this claim, keep it, and later on come and ask. If you found the story you couldn't relate it to Imam Mehdi alayhi salam, come and ask me, I'll tell you what. Everything is there for a reason. Every point that's made in Quran about the story of all prophets, in fact, they're all pointing to one thing, to Imam Mehdi alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now, the story of ghaib and iman bi-ghaib is something that, as we say, is the sunnah of Allah. Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, in every single place that is talking about the message of Allah, you see next to it is something about a bashara, or is some good tidings, good news, or some sort of promise for adhab and punishment. What are these? If I say that later on you're going to go to heaven, or later on you're going to go to hell, na'udhu billah, this means iman bi-ghaib, isn't it? If I say you have to believe that later on something is going to happen to you, if I say to these people that don't do this because later on there will be a punishment coming to you, don't do this, later on there's going to be a ship, an ark that I'm going to make, and you can sit in it and go, and they say, oh, nonsense. Nonsense. Who believes this? Shia made it up. Yeah? No, there's going to be an ark. Come on, there's going to be an ark, and people are going to sit into it. There will be a big flood, and everybody will get killed, and you're going to sit into that. Nonsense. Come on, you hurt your Imam, you hurt your Hujjah of Allah, you hurt your Prophet, and he's going to go leave you. Nonsense. Who said that? Quran said. And every single story, so we can go through them one by one. So the whole message Allah Ta'ala gives to people is based on this, is based on promising and warning, promising and warning everywhere, which is min ghaib and ghaib. Yes. Also, this has a very important effect on people. This way, the effect of testing people. Allah Ta'ala, when we start Quran, the second surah of Quran, Surah Tur, what's the second surah of Quran? Is it Ali Riza? Is it Ali Riza? That's Hassan. Muhammad Hassan. Where's Ali Riza? He's the other side. He's younger. Ah, so Muhammad Hassan is bigger. Okay. What is the second surah of Quran? Do you know? Your brother is going to help you. Surah Al-Baqarah. So Surah Al-Baqarah, we started, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين. What's the next ayah? الذين يؤمنون بالغيب. الذين يؤمنون بالغيب. What does it mean? Yeah, but connect these two together. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب. Or I read it like this. هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب. What does it mean? Means ذلك الكتاب, this book is not hidayah for those muttaqin who do not believe in ghaib. Means Quran is hidayah for those people who have taqwa. They have iman bi-ghaib. If you don't have these, there are other things after that, but the first two things is that if you're not part of this group, if you don't have these conditions, this book is not even hidayah for you. It doesn't do the job properly for you, as I want to say. It's not going to work for you properly. So Allah Ta'ala starts even the hidayah, the message of Quran, dependent on this belief. Also, many places you see Allah Ta'ala hides something. Let's look at the story of Musa and Khidr alayhi salam. When Musa alayhi salam goes and he has a message, he's been told about this. He goes to Khidr and what does he say? قال له موسى هل أتبعك على أن تعلمني مما علمت الرشد. Is there any way I can follow you to learn from you? Well, Allah Ta'ala could have told him, look, Musa, when you go there, he's going to kill a young guy is because of this. He's going to make a hole in that ship is because of that. He's going to make that wall is because of this and that. Finished. Why does he have to go through this challenge with Khidr? That I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know why he did this. I don't know what's going on. And then Khidr every time warns him, no. You said you're going to be quiet and learn. No. And after 3 times, that's it. You're out. 3 strikes, you're out. That's it. هذا فراق بيني وبينك. That's it. Why? Why couldn't Allah Ta'ala tell him? Why couldn't Khidr tell him? So look, you got to go there. We got to kill somebody. This is the story. I'll tell you what the story is. Just keep quiet, okay? That's what's going to happen. Simple. But no, you've got to go through this, not knowing why this is going to happen. So you get challenged. And this is disciplining you. This is teaching you. Because this way you learn something much, much deeper than when they told you what's going on. And this is how we work in our daily life, was to teaching for upbringing our children, You let them do something and you of course, you warn them about things. But when they go for something and say, look, do you see that? This is how it works. I told you not to touch this, it's hot. But you went and touched it. You said, okay, you touched it, you burned a little bit. Now a little bit burning will remind you, never ever touch that again. Now, what's the point of being away from the Imam or the Prophet? Who can help us here? What's the point if you're away from your Imam? If you're away from your Prophet, what's the point? What kind of effect can have on us? No guidance. Is that good? That's a bad thing. That's very bad. So Allah would do something bad. That's exactly the point that Ahlul Sunnah make. Growing patient. So that's something. You get disciplined. You actually start being more patient. That's one thing. Yes? What else? Making decision. You're saying is a negative thing. So you're saying all the Ahlul Sunnah thing. Thank you very much tonight. You are a good representative of Ahlul Sunnah. I'm saying that when Imam alayhi salam is not amongst us, yes, when you cannot have access to your Imam, is there any positive thing coming out of it? Is there any sort of teaching you, like one of the things that we said, you grow patience, you become a patient person. By practicing patience, you get more patient. You appreciate your Imam or not? People who were with their Imam, their Prophet, they did not appreciate their Imam until he went away. Like the story of Yunus alayhi salam. When the Prophet left them, before that he kept telling them and they didn't listen. But after a while they started thinking themselves and they started asking for forgiveness. They did istighfar. They asked Allah to forgive them, and then they did dua for their Imam to come back. Tell me, in that dua they did, was there any blessing in that dua or not? That dua was a blessing for them. Yes, they got lots of thawab for them. Imagine somebody is with the Prophet when Yunus alayhi salam is there. People are there and they do not listen to their Prophet very well, which is now probably out of 1.5 billion people, Muslims, you can say 1.499999 Muslims don't listen to the Prophet very well. So if this person being with the Prophet Yunus alayhi salam and does not listen to his Prophet very well, he dies. Not many of them would go to heaven. Not many of them would be fa'iz. Not many of them would be part of muflihun. Yes? However, the same person, the Prophet went away. He did istighfar and he's doing dua for his Prophet to come back, for his Imam to come back. While he's in that status, if he dies, would he die as a mu'min or not? Mu'min. He would die as a mu'min. Not ordinary mu'min, in fact, very high rank mu'min. Because he died while he's asking for his Imam to come back, while he has done istighfar, while he's doing dua for his Imam. Yeah, while he's having this connection with Allah. So this guy actually promoted himself a lot by his Prophet being away from him, which would have not happened if he was with his Imam, with his Prophet. The other thing that happened with the people of Yunus alayhi salam is that they got united. Before that, they were all doing everything they wanted, and they did not care about these things. But when the Prophet went and they realized their mistake, then they got united. They all did dua together. They became one ummah. That was something that Yunus alayhi salam could not achieve by his presence. He was there, he could not achieve that. He left, they got united. When they got the lesson, of course, they were in a very tricky situation. They could have gone the other way and they could have got the punishment, of course. They were so close to get the punishment, but the blessing of Allah came upon them and they managed to go the other direction. So of course that was a risky business. Also, the other thing that happens is that many places Allah Ta'ala, as we said, as a sunnah of Allah, Allah has told us there are certain things that you do not know or you cannot know, so temporarily or permanent. You may not know forever. Like in Quran, when it comes to the story of Ashab al-Kahf, one of the things points about Ashab al-Kahf. This is not the one that I was talking about. That's for later on, inshallah. But it says, Allah Ta'ala says, people argue about the number of Ashab al-Kahf. So, يَقُولُونَ ثَلَاثَةٌ رَابِعُهُمْ كَلْبُهُمْ. Some say there were 3, the 4th one was their dog. وَيَقُولُونَ خَمْسَةٌ سَادِسُهُمْ كَلْبُهُمْ. There were 5, the 6th one was the dog. Rajman bil ghaib, they just throw something in the dark. They just say, oh, this is it. They don't know. وَيَقُولُونَ سَبْعَةٌ وَثَامِنُهُمْ كَلْبُهُمْ. There were 7th, 8th one. Allah Ta'ala says, قُلْ رَبِّي أَعْلَمُ بِعِدَّتِهِمْ مَا يَعْلَمُهُمْ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ. Which means that most of people don't know. We still don't know, for sure. Most of people don't know. Allah says there are certain things I'm not going to tell you on purpose. Why? For you to understand the importance of the other thing. So one of the reasons certain things are not mentioned is because Allah wants to say, don't pay attention to it. Or when it comes to the story of Nuh alayhi salam's son, Allah Ta'ala, when Nuh asked, what's going to happen to my son? Is he going to be saved or not? قَالَ يَا نُوحُ إِنَّهُ لَيْسَ مِنْ أَهْلِكَ. This is not, he's not considered as your family because he's not a mu'min. إِنَّهُ عَمَلٌ غَيْرُ صَالِحٍ. He's done so much bad thing, he's become a bad thing himself. فَلَا تَسْأَلْنِ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ. Do not ask about something you don't know. You don't have enough knowledge about it. إِنِّي أَعُوذُكَ أَن تَكُونَ مِنَ الْجَاهِلِينَ. So here, in certain places you cannot get the knowledge. Better for you not to get knowledge about it. Or the munafiqeen, Allah Ta'ala says there are certain munafiqeen around Medina, ومن من حولكم من الأعراب منافقون ومن أهل المدينة مردوا على النفاق لا تعلمهم نحن نعلمهم. Allah Ta'ala said, you guys don't know the munafiqeen, we know them. But Allah is not telling people for a reason. Or why, for example, the story of Adam alayhi salam, why Adam became Khalifa. Allah Ta'ala first says, doesn't explain it first to the angels. First he says, so they say, oh, why are you putting him? He might do might bloodshed and do corruption. Allah Ta'ala says, I know something you don't know. And later on, Allah will show them. So that is actually the tradition of Allah, to hide certain things for people to learn, to remember, to do dua, to become more patient, to think more and try to change themselves. There is so much. When it comes to the story of something called as-sa'ah, many of Mufassirin, especially Ahl Sunnah, they believe that as-sa'ah is qiyamah. But I tell you that majority of places, if not all of these places, that the word as-sa'ah we have is about the time that Imam Mehdi alayhi salam comes. As-sa'ah actually is the time of Imam Mehdi alayhi salam. It's another story that we'll talk about inshallah another time. But Allah Ta'ala brings this ayah, this brings as-sa'ah. It says the reason that we have hidden the time of as-sa'ah is for to reward certain people for their effort in the time that they do not know what as-sa'ah is. So Allah says, we'll reward you more when you do not know, which makes sense. If everybody knows that what's going to happen, that tomorrow is going to be Imam alayhi salam coming, or it's going to be, for example, Qiyamah, as they say, everybody's going to be good. They said, fine, from now on we do tawbah, everybody becomes nice person, and that's it. But when you do not know when it's going to come, that's when you show that you're real person, real mu'min, you really believe in what you say and claim, and then you stick to your promise, and Allah Ta'ala will reward you much, much more than the person who knows what's going to happen next. Is that clear, or is it complicated? So as you can see, I think for this session, this is enough. So as you can see, there is so much about about believing in al-ghaib, about certain things being in ghaib. And Imam alayhi salam is one of them. And inshallah we'll prove, I just give you the taste of it for you to understand that believing in Imam alayhi salam is actually part of ghaib. That's the claim we have, isn't it? One of the claims that we have, we say this, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. One of the examples is the Imam Mehdi alayhi salam. Allah Ta'ala, when he speaks to the same angels, when he says about the Asma'ullah, this Asma' that Allah Ta'ala is telling the angels, you don't know, Adam knows, that we believe is the name Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Allah Ta'ala says this is part of ghaib. Inni a'lamu ghayba as-samawati wal ard. You did not know about Asma, but I know. That is a reason that the Asma is part of ghaib. And when we have riwayah that says Imam alayhi salam, name Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, is part of Asma'ullah, that means that they are part of ghaib as well. Believing in Imam alayhi salam is part of ghaib. That was a short reference to that one because we mentioned it here, but inshallah we can talk about it. Inshallah, if we can continue with this topic, next topic, inshallah, we'll go back to generally what is ghaib, what is considered as ghaib, and then from talking about ghaib a little bit more and some other examples, inshallah, we'll move on to the story, the actual topic of Al-Mahdi alayhi salam. Okay, any questions? Ghaib in future could be in future. Ghaib could be something that you cannot see at all, like Allah, tabarak ta'ala, angels. You're saying that they believe in ghaib and they accept that this applies to Imam Mehdi alayhi salam, but they believe it's something in future. You could say that, but that's not what they say. They don't believe is Imam Mehdi alayhi salam. Yes, that's the life of Imam Mehdi alayhi salam, like age, how long he lived. That's something they mock, which is in Quran. We've got proof for that in Quran. And that's another thing. As I said, any story of Quran is about that. So you can see the story of Nuh alayhi salam. Yeah, story of Nuh alayhi salam shows that somebody can live. And Isa alayhi salam now, and they believe in Khidr, they believe in Uzair being alive. They all believe in all of that, and they don't have any problem, which is much longer than Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. But they have a problem with, Shia belief. Ghaib will explain ghaib. Ghaib is not that. Is not something, just something is in future. Is something that you cannot access. Yes, so yes, it could be something in future because you cannot access it now. That can be ghaib. But they don't believe actually that Iman bil ghaib is actually anything to do with Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. I don't think they believe in that. Yeah. Anything else? اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج واجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره وشيعته ومحبيه اللهم انصر من نصره واخذل من خذله اللهم وفقنا لما تحب وترضى اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد